So I just put out top Primal kills, and although I do love a bit of the red stuff, I do love a bit of horror, a bit of doom and video game hyperviolence, I do feel it needs to be counterbalanced by something, a little more positive. Now this video was suggested by Clay Harris, and when I read his suggestion, I thought that this vid would be a great accompaniment to my other video in the same way that Primal itself does a great job of yin and yanging the two things together. Like, violence means nothing if there's no peril, if there's no tension, and the peril and the tension is created precisely because you care about the characters, and you come to care about them through moments like these. But before we begin, I gotta do the YouTuber plug. Please hit like on the video, subscribe if you're new. I have even more Primal stuff in the pipeline, a couple of Pacific Rim the Black videos coming up, I'm looking at Cyberpunk Edge Runners real soon, and of course, Chainsaw Man. Okay, plug over. Listen, if I don't do it, nobody else is gonna do it for me, right? So, lol, but also cry. Also, make sure you're subscribed because we don't know if this is the end of Primal or not, and I want to keep you posted with any developments as they break. It's very much looking like even if there is a season 3 of Primal, it's not going to have Spear and Fang in it. So I guess this video is just me sort of reminiscing. So, having just rewatched both seasons, one thing I noticed is that there are loads of little moments between Spear and Fang that on first viewing I didn't really think too much about. For example, in Season 1, Episode 3, both characters are stranded in a snowstorm, and Spear puts a blanket on Fang as best he can. Ooh, a lady! Before sitting in the snow, and his dino bestie returns the favor by wrapping herself around him to shelter him up and keep him warm. A more cynical person may say, oh, she's also doing this to try and extract his body heat. I mean, I know that's what my dog would do, but even if that is the case, that's part of a pet's charm, isn't it? You keep me warm, you give me food, and in return, you get to tickle my belly. So here's a list of moments that warmed my little heart. And yeah, I know there are loads of these, and I can't cover them all. For example, Kamau's reunion with his daughter. Lovely moment, especially as she'd been used as a bargaining chip by the Queen for so long and threatened with death on a daily basis. But honestly, as nice as this one is, there are even more powerful ones in this show. So let me know if I've forgotten your favorite one. Anyway, let's start at the start and go from there. The moment that kicked it all off. And that's this. After Spear has to watch his own family die right in front of him at the hands of hungry theropods, you understand how he's going to want to kill any T-Rex he comes across, don't you? Wait, what? What are we doing? But after he sees that Fang has babies herself, he gets involved to protect them from the red T-Rexes. And after an intense battle, we get this moment, which would melt the coldest of hearts, wouldn't it? Well, no, I guess not Gendy's, no, because only seconds later a ginormous red comes out of nowhere and chomps them down. But this is the common ground moment that really binds our two characters and instantly breaks your heart, which locks you into this show. So I felt it only appropriate to talk about this one first, as it could be arguably the most important moment of the entire show. And T-Rex baby's so cute! Next up, I've put the beauty of the ocean. Season 2's opener sees our guys take on the wilderness at its most terrifying, at least to me. I spoke before about how Lost at Sea movies really freak me out, but between staving off starvation and literally fighting off a megalodon, there's a moment where they experience the true beauty of nature. The jellyfish, the moon, the whales, they put on a real show for our guys. To me, this moment is really important because, as you know, the majority of Season 2 is spent in the human world. And to me, this moment is almost a goodbye to that world dominated by Mother Nature and all her wonders and all her terrors, of course. Next up, I put this face. Just this face. Do I need to say any more about this? I don't really need to say too much about this, do I? This face is the face that our guy pulls when they realize that Fang is about to lay eggs. And quite frankly, well, I mean, the face says it all, doesn't it? I mean, look at him. Look at this guy. The next one is a rare moment of peace. So between escaping the raptors and giant red bats in Terror of the Blood Moon and being kidnapped in Rage of the Ape Men for this horrific monkey battle tournament, there's a brief moment where our duo gets to actually enjoy the beauty of the world around them as they find this hidden lagoon with its own waterfall, a sandy beach, and plentiful fish. It's this place where they can just take a breath and chill. Fang notices a butterfly flapping around and follows it over to this whole wall of resting butterflies, suddenly bursting into life, and she starts jumping around like a puppy, both excited and terrified in equal measure. Spear puts his handprint in the sand. Fang then does the same, which to me is just like a cementing of the bond that they have together. Before the best bit, this worm that digs up from out of the sand, which brings all of Fang's PTSDs about the snake attack from episode 2 bubbling back to the surface, and she freaks right out. And Spear is like, what? This thing? And then he eats it! So it's a moment that's uplifting, it's endearing, and it's funny too. Next up, I've got the mammoth graveyard. I don't know about you, but I always pictured mammoths as being very similar to elephants in terms of character. Like, mostly serene, plodding along, all chill, with the odd raging outburst at any tourist that comes too close with their fucking fanny pack and selfie stick. But in this ep, Spear and Fang are hunted down vitriolically and vengefully by these giant furry behemoths after killing an old and dying member of their pack. But if it wasn't enough to see the forlorn look on Spear's face after killing the beast, the bit that really churns you up inside is when Spear gives back the remains of the fallen mammoth to its pack, who then take it and lay it to rest in their mammoth graveyard. You realize that these beasts have tradition and perhaps even beliefs, and that if their loved ones aren't properly laid to rest, their cycle of life can't be completed. So the fact that the rest of the pack went to these lengths to get back their fallen comrade is a really lovely moment. They even do like a farewell dance. Then I've got another small moment that I actually nearly missed altogether, but in the finale of Season 2, after Mira shows Spear his new digs in their village, he walks into this kind of sparse and empty room, which of course is done deliberately to convey the notion that there's nothing really here for Spear. Fang is like, fuck that door shit, nobody tells me how to get into a room, and smashes right through the wall. But if you look close right here, you can see that Fang and her babies took whatever bedding there was, and Spear is just happy to lay on the floor. Like, you know, that was a tiny little moment that really, just made me Then I've got the witch being reunited with her daughter. Now, I nearly put this one in the top spot, but thinking about how the finale played out, I swapped these next two around. But it doesn't make this one any less powerful. And it's powerful to me because we're introduced to the Coven of Witches as villains who only want to strip men of their souls to add to their coven. Then we're introduced to this witch who looks into Spear and Fang's past and recognizes their loss, as she lost a child in a tragic accident, like fell off a cliff if I remember right. After she sacrifices her own life to help our guys escape, we get this lovely scene where she is reunited with her daughter in a glowing sun-basked field, or, heaven if you need me to spell it out. This one is really interesting to me because actually Spear and Fang aren't really the focal point of this ep. The emphasis is definitely more on this witch, and it shows a real mastery on behalf of the filmmakers to be able to build such a rapport between a character and the audience so quickly, and her sacrifice was incredibly poignant. Now, before I give you my favorite heartwarming moment, I just want to mention Spear's death, which, although he sacrificed himself to help his friend and therefore is an epic and selfless moment, it's just that everything surrounding his death, I don't feel like it really belongs on this list because I still find it just fucking odd, man. Just really fucking odd. I still find it a slightly odd mixture of emotions that this moment summoned, definitely, I was definitely sad that he was gone, definitely quite pissed off that they killed him off at all, and pretty weirded out by that sex scene. So the selflessness of it all, of his sacrifice, just got a little bit lost in that, so I'm not putting that on the list. But instead, in my top spot, I've put Fang entrusts her babies to Spear. Throughout Season 2, after Fang gives birth at least, there's this constant reminder that even though Fang is not just any animal, she still has primitive protective instincts. I've always found it interesting with pets that you could be their best friend for several years, but when it comes to certain things touching their food, or in this case, getting too close to their young, they can have strange and aggressive reactions. And we see this a few times in Season 2, where Spear and Mira have to tread really carefully to move the eggs or even get close to them, actually. Because one wrong move and they'd get a bunch of hot T-Rex breath screamed in their faces and threatened with a nasty bite. But in the finale, at daybreak, Fang wakes up and goes to investigate something. I can't quite remember what exactly. But before she leaves, she shoves the sleeping babies into Spear's arms. And even though it's a moment that's not played up at all, Spear is just fast asleep and Fang just does it really quick, yep, there you go. But it's possibly the biggest mark of trust that she could possibly make, entrusting him with something so fragile and vulnerable, and the thing that's dearest to her. Doing this would normally be going against every animalistic parental instinct she has, but no, she feels comfortable with this guy. It's especially touching as it's the last real moment of tenderness between the two before we lose our favorite caveman. And we don't really get much of a farewell between them, as Fang can't seem to handle the fact that he's dying and can't bear to watch, so she marches off. So this is a sign to me that even though she could never say it with, words, she saw him not only as a friend, not only as a partner or protector, but almost as a surrogate father to her young, and therefore, family. And on that note, I'm going to leave it there, guys. I've been thinking about what Season 3 would look like if it ever were to happen, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to discuss that. And please do watch that video because I'm really eager to hear your thoughts. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you very soon for the next one. Cheerio, bye!